just from an agenda perspective, 9.3 and 9.3.1, new features overview, and really I'm going to spend the majority of the time demoing the features so you can get a feel for exactly what they look like, and then we'll get into some Q&A. So the major focus areas of 9.3 and 9.3.1 and what I'm going to be able to demo today, so there's a significant amount of stuff in the resource management simplification topic around staffing profiles and creating positions and forecasts and things like that all show. There's a new intuitive work plan that I'll also demo and walk through, some new financial management visualizations, and then Excel reporting, and I'll demo all four of those that you see in red. The Open Agile SDK, the resource management optimization, the XML importer, and some of the other features I'm not going to have time to demo, but those were also investment areas in PPM 9.3 and 9.3.1. As far as the slide deck, I'm going to stop here. I actually created and leveraged some slides so that when you get the deck, you can refer back to these and look at some of the key things like creating staffing profile on the project page, inline add and edit, and clone positions. I'm not going to run through all these slides, but you'll get these after the presentation. I'm actually going to demo through these. So as part of the presentation, there's about 20 or so slides in here that kind of focus on the new features and give you visualizations of them for you to use, but I'll walk through them in a demo environment as well. So when we start talking about the first topic, which is the resource management simplification, I'm just going to start by creating a project, and I'll just create a project called Upgrade PPM to version 9.3.1 as an example, and we'll walk through how we see the new features. So I'll just make this a business project, and we'll say we're going to start it in January 2015 and end it in May of 2015. I'm going to go ahead and create that. And then I'm just going to go ahead, and so from a process perspective, I'm just going to go ahead and submit this. My project type doesn't have any required fields on it. So once I've submitted this, I can actually then create the staffing profile. When you create the staffing profile, it presents you with a new version of a portlet on the project overview page where you can get a summary of the positions and what's fulfilled and not fulfilled. When I've opened it actually is within the staffing tab, which is a new tab of the project overview. And so within this tab, you can actually, so you don't have to go to a separate window to maintain the staffing profile. You can actually, within this staffing tab on the project overview, maintain it. And so I'm just going to create this staffing profile by selecting positions from an existing staffing profile initially. So I'm going to say we'll choose this one and go ahead and import those positions. And I only have one position on there. But now you'll see within the staffing tab here, still within the scope of the project summary. So I can go over to the project summary, I can go back to staffing, and still be in the same place on the staffing profile, so I don't have to open that additional window, is where I can start to now build out my staffing profile. And you see a few things that are different here. You have a statistics section, which is really the old staffing profile header, and then you have this visualization showing you the total number of positions and what's fulfilled and what's not fulfilled. So from a feature perspective, there's inline editing and editing and cloning positions within the staffing profile. So if I want to add a position as an example, I simply add that position and say I want to add a developer. I go ahead and add that. You can assign a resource pool here. Let me see my resource pools. I'll just say it's HP Consultants Resource Pool. And then there's a couple of ways that you can add the actual requirement here. And one of the ways is you can actually drag and drop the requirement. So you can see that today's January 21st. I can click there and actually drag my requirement out until the end, and then it asks me, do I need 1 or 2 FTEs? So say I needed 2 developers, I can put 2 FTEs in, or I can put the total number of hours in, and just confirm that creation of the actual demand for that position. So that, and then you can go ahead and save that demand, and now we have multiple positions on this staffing profile. You can also, any time during this process, you can switch back to the table view, where you get a visualization of it like you're used to seeing it, or you can switch back to the Gantt view, and then you have the year view, the quarter view, the month view, and the week view of that staffing, or of that demand. So the inline editing, and you can also inline edit these requirements by just double-clicking. One other feature that this enables is you can put a specific start date on positions. So if you wanted it to start midweek like I did here on the 21st, you can actually achieve that now with this new creation of the position. Now, let me see. The other thing you can do is you can clone position. So if you check a position here, there's actually a clone position button. And then you can go ahead and adjust that position length, or the number of FTEs, or even the role and other things. The other thing that's important in here is you can add the user data columns and inline edit user data columns. So if you were, for instance, let me go ahead and save this. So if you, for instance, had a user data column of phase, you can actually add that and then inline edit the phase as an example. So any user data column within the staffing profile itself. And then I think the final feature I want to show here is the ability to filter. So if you have large staffing profiles, the filtering, and part of this I think came in 922, but you can filter as an example by role. Go ahead and filter, and it just pulls up your DBA positions, and then you can go ahead and remove that filter as well. So there is the ability to filter by role or by resource or other capabilities, resource pool, resource role, the type of resource, etc. You can also look for those that just have a blank resource pool in the filtering and show that within the staffing profile.
And Russ, one more thing to add. On a position, you can drag and drop 2 different time periods. So if you had an interrupted schedule, you could have 2 different spans, or more than 2, just one or many.
That's right. So if you, for instance, had a quality analyst role, you could say, well, I know I need them initially in the definition phase, just part-time, and then I know I need them towards the end of the project as well, full-time. So you can have multiple different demands that are not contiguous within that filtering as well, or within the creation of positions. You'll also notice when you filter, the filters show here, and then you can simply remove the filters and it brings everything back within the staffing profile. And within this same screen, you can switch back to the old table view, which actually takes you outside of the project container, but you're back seeing exactly what we just built in the old view as well. So let me search that project again so I can get back in there. PPM to version 931. We'll go back to our staffing tab. Within this, you can also do your assignments. And so in here, you can do promise, reject, or forward, and then you can also do resource assignments. And so let me just take this role out because I don't think I have any people that match this role, and refilter that. And when you do your assignments, it presents you with a set of available resources based on availability, skill, suitability, and then the projected utilization percentage of that resource. You can go ahead and choose that resource and assign them at this point, and you can change their status to softbook committed and go ahead and save the changes. So assignments, and you'll notice when you do the assignment, then you get a visualization here that only one of the two FTEs, so it's partially filled in. And so if you fully do that, and if I were to say assign another resource to that as well, let me remove this role because of my data. Go ahead and search and assign Manny in this case. Now you'll notice that the visualization of the Gantt actually shows it fully fulfilled. There's a way to see the Gantt legend here. So basically you have new demand, unmet or partially filled demand, fulfilled demand. When you get into an overallocation, you can see that as well, and then it shows all of the capabilities of drag and drop within the Gantt view of this. So that's fundamentally the new staffing profile that's within the staffing tab on the overview page. So now I'm going to move on to the intuitive work plan, and I'm just going to create a work plan from a template so that we have a work plan in here, and I'll just do this standard project template as an example. All right, so this went ahead and imported a project template, and this view that you see here, it's called a quick view, is the new intuitive work plan view. And some of the capabilities within the work plan are filtering. So if you were specifically looking for the testing, you can just start typing for the task name, and you can filter by task name within this work plan. And even when in the filtered mode, you can edit the information about those tasks. So, for instance, if I knew that the user I was going to assign for the right test plans was Tim, you can do that, and then you can go ahead and remove the filter. Now, one of the new features that's pretty big in my mind is the fact that this has not yet been saved, but it's tracking the changes that you've made to the work plan. And so this number 1 up here actually shows that there's one change pending save within this work plan. So if I were to go add Tim to another task as example, now I have 2 things that are pending change. And I also might want to say move this incorporate feedback task and actually move it up in the plan. I don't know that I can make that move without these saves, but one of the things you can do here is actually go in and decide to discard a change. So if you made a change and it was 7 or 8 changes back, you can actually go ahead and select this and discard that change, where I put Tim on that testing task and go ahead and save the work plan. Some of the other capabilities that you have here are the ability to drag and drop tasks within the work plan. And so you'll notice this little arrow comes up. I could actually move this incorporate feedback task up here to be the first task within the work plan. You'll also get some visualizations in the work plan when you change things that affect other tasks. So example would be, I think if I were to change the date on this to be 1/9/15, and I have the predecessors, you can start to see now that these are the other tasks. So this is the task I changed. I changed the scheduled finish date to 1/9. It's impacted the end date of the build task, and it's impacted the scheduled finish date of the overall project. So those visualizations that are in pink are the impacts that were caused by that change that I just made. One of the other areas you can see within this work plan is the ability to, just like any others, you can select the columns to display. There is the ability to filter the type of tasks that are in here, and that's specifically, and I think I can show when I jump over to a different plan on the ability to see those tasks that came from Agile Manager versus those that are core PPM tasks. So that's the new intuitive work plan visualization. Once again, things like the drag and drop if you want to move that task, the inline editing of all of the capabilities, including the status, is here as well. So, and it's simply just another view, so you can always go back to the old views. You can go back to the schedule view and switch back to the quick view at any time that you're in the work plan. So I'm going to jump out of the work plan, and then we'll move on to the financial management reporting demo. Within a project, I'm going to create a new project, or I'm going to search a new project because I have one that has a good financial summary, and show you some of the new visualizations within the work plan. So you'll notice here that you have the staffing tab. We saw that. You also now have a cost tab up here, and if you click on the cost tab, there are some new visualizations associated with the financial summary. And the first one being the overall financial summary, where you can see your budget and actual cost. You get your forecast cost, your actual cost line, and your projected cost of the project within this visualization, and then a table to actually see, you know, your OPEX and CAPEX as well as your total labor. You can look at a resource forecast cost, and this is nice because it gets down to the specific role or position of that resource, the planned and actual costs, and you can drill through the months, and you can see the corresponding graph here, as well as you look at the overall resource costs and the actual assigned resources for that. You can also see the work plan cost as the work plan is planned out for this particular project. And then there's the earned value analysis tab as well. You know, and you can actually see what would happen to your earned value analysis if you were to increase the scope of the project. So that's new capabilities within the financial management piece as well. And then I think since we only have 5 minutes left here, the final piece I want to show really quickly is the ability to create Excel reports. And so I actually have an Excel spreadsheet open here, and this is, you fundamentally can go in and create reports within Excel and write the SQL within Excel and then execute that within PPM. And so this is an example of a resource list report that we created in Excel, where we're getting the full name, username, category, role, start date, and manager, and then the associated charts that we wanted to show. And so you write the report in Excel and then embed it within PPM. And if I just go ahead and create a report within PPM, you can actually run that report directly out of PPM, and it uses the same data sources and other things within PPM, and then the output will be the Excel report based on that Excel template. And so I'll just show you the output of what that report has here. Let me make this a little bit smaller, and you can see, let me get this over here so I can actually show. So this is the output of the resource list report that we had in that Excel. And then if you look at the associated chart, it actually takes that output and puts it into a chart. So you can, with the Excel reporting, go directly from PPM to create these Excel reports.